When we think about growth, much of the growth you need will come at the expense of a competitor. It's very unlikely that you'll be winning completely new business for which you're the only possible supplier. So generally, when you win, someone else must lose. And so having an accurate assessment of the competition has to be fundamental to your key account growth plan. You have to know where and from whom the growth is coming. You have to know why the key account should give you the business instead to one of your competitors. And generally, when we talk about competitors, we're thinking about companies which are very similar to ourselves. They're supplying a product or a service similar to our own, and they're probably doing it in a very similar way. But we should also think about companies which may not look like us. We can call them indirect competitors. And this is well worth doing because it's not unusual to find that you can lose business to companies offering solutions to your customers which are not traditionally classed as your competitors. In fact, it may not even be part of your industry at all. Some could be your suppliers. For example, a manufacturer of corrugated cardboard boxes found it was very hard to differentiate its own products, and its margins were very low. A brown box is a brown box, right? So it spent some time looking at the value chain. In other words, what happened to its boxes? And it found that many were sold through a distributor to smaller companies which packed the boxes on behalf of large manufacturers. And the margin here was much better. So the box maker introduced this service and started selling directly to these large manufacturers. And it could offer an integrated service. So now no need to ship the boxes to the filler via the distributor, and so it could take out the margin earned by the distributor. So the manufacturer got a better, cheaper service. And suddenly the original packaging company found themselves competing directly with their box supplier who had a cheaper service. So, how can we identify competitors who may not be competitors? Well, a helpful way to think about these non-traditional competitors is to use a model created by Michael Porter from the Harvard Business School. In this model, Porter considers 4 types of non-traditional competitor. And here's the way it works. At the center are the normal competitors. These are the companies which look a bit like you, offering very similar products and services to yours. These are the competitors we'd normally think about. Around the center are 4 potential types of new competitor. At the top are new entrants to the market. And these are companies often doing different things to you, but who can enter the market with a similar product or service to you. For example, grocery supermarkets selling financial service products. At the bottom are companies offering different products or services, but which could substitute for yours. So for example, video games are a substitute for television, or trains are a substitute for cars. On the left are your suppliers entering the market to compete directly with you. For example, the box manufacturer we talked about earlier. And finally, on the right are your own customers who start to compete with you. For example, supermarkets producing their own private label products to sit on their own shelves to compete with their suppliers' brands. So this is a neat, straightforward model to help us think about potential non-traditional competitors. It helps us to consider the threat before it happens, and so consider response to protect our business before it's too late. Because many key account managers have been caught out thinking only about the well-known traditional competitors. Well, now you've got to think about a whole range of other competitors who might threaten your business. So in the future, when we talk about competitors, we'll be thinking about any company which might threaten your business. If you use this type of analysis to define who you're competing against, you'll be in a good position to define the threat, and as a result, you can work out a response, ideally to block the threat. You can also start to think about how your key account is likely to respond to this competitive initiative from both the traditional and the non-traditional competitors. And again, without this understanding, you'll not be effective. It'll be unclear how you should exploit your strengths or defend against your weaknesses, and your negotiating position will be seriously undermined. So far, we've concentrated on competitive threats. But competitors present both threats and opportunities. And if you want to grow your key account business, and after all, that's the whole point of developing the growth plan, then unless your key account is growing rapidly, which is pretty difficult in this economic climate, then your growth is likely to come at the expense of an existing supplier or your competitor. When you grow, they lose. So part of the account manager's job is to convince the key account to move business from a current supplier to you. And if you don't fully understand the competitive offer and the likely response to your offer, well then of course you're putting yourself at a serious disadvantage. So I hope I've convinced you that understanding your competitors is fundamental to your success. Thank you.